What if the very first barrier to visiting America wasn't the price of a hotel room or a $20 cocktail in Las Vegas, but the right to even step on the plane? Imagine saving up for years, only to discover you'll need to pay a brand new $250 Visa integrity fee before even booking your ticket. For travelers from certain countries, the cost could balloon to $15,000 in refundable bonds. Suddenly, Sin City's famous welcome feels more like a toll gate. This isn't just bureaucracy. It's a dagger aimed at the heart of international tourism. In today's breakdown, we'll uncover how this shocking new fee threatens to choke off the lifeline of Las Vegas and what it means for its future as the world's playground. The $250 visa fee, a hidden wall for tourists. The desert has always demanded a price from those who enter it, but in 2025, the toll to reach Las Vegas doesn't start with resort fees, overpriced meals, or parking surcharges. It begins thousands of miles away at the U.S. Embassy. For every international visitor applying for a non-immigrant visa, a new $250 visa integrity fee now looms like an extra border wall. To put this in perspective, the U.S. already ranks among the most expensive countries in the world to obtain a tourist visa. Add this new charge, and the U.S. shoots to the top. Eric Hansen of the U.S. Travel Association warns that America will soon have one of, if not the highest, visitor visa fees in the world. That's a title no tourism economy should want. Why does this matter for Las Vegas in particular? Because unlike New York or Los Angeles, Vegas depends disproportionately on international visitors. Roughly 5 million foreign tourists visited in 2024, injecting billions into casinos, shows, restaurants, and small businesses. Yet at Harry Reid International Airport, the warning signs are already flashing. International passenger counts dropped nearly 10% in June 2025, marking 5 straight months of decline. Canadian carriers alone reported double-digit declines, a red flag for a market that traditionally sends bachelor parties, retirees, and big-spending gamblers to Nevada. Lawmakers are alarmed. Senator Jackie Rosen has urged Washington to suspend the fee, warning it would further harm Las Vegas's already declining tourism industry. Representative Dina Titus was even more blunt. The policy sends a message to international travelers that they are not welcome here. In a city where 1 in 4 jobs is tied to hospitality, that message could mean fewer shifts for dealers, bartenders, and show crews, and more layoffs on the Strip. Think of the ripple effect. When fewer foreign tourists land, it's not just the Bellagio fountains that feel emptier. It's the taxi driver who loses airport fares, the Chinatown restaurant that sees fewer late-night diners, and the convention center that books smaller events. The $250 fee, designed to cover visa enforcement costs, could unintentionally strangle an industry already bleeding from resort surcharges and inflation. And here's the bigger danger. Fees aren't just numbers. They're symbols. To a traveler in London, Sao Paulo, or Seoul, this new charge feels like America is putting up a "Do Not Enter" sign. Vegas, once marketed as the ultimate escape, is being rebranded by policy as an exclusive club with a steep cover charge. But if you think the $250 fee is bad, wait until you hear about the $15,000 bonds some travelers may be forced to pay up front just for permission to visit. That's where this story turns from inconvenient to impossible. The $15,000 bond, the ultimate tourism killer. What price would make you abandon your dream vacation? A $300 dinner? A $500 plane ticket hike? Try $15,000 up front, refundable only if you follow every rule. That's the reality behind the U.S. State Department's proposed visa bond program, which targets visitors from high-risk countries. The logic sounds simple on paper. Make sure travelers don't overstay visas by forcing them to post a bond of $5,000, $10,000, or even $15,000. But for millions of potential visitors, this isn't security, it's a stop sign. No family of four from Latin America, Africa, or Southeast Asia is going to front $60,000 just to step into Las Vegas. The result? Those tourists will redirect their vacations elsewhere: Paris, Macau, Dubai, leaving Vegas hotels with empty suites and casinos with vacant tables. Even analysts who usually support tough immigration controls are sounding alarms. Alex Norasta from the Cato Institute didn't mince words. Bans on tourist and business visas will convince most foreigners not to bother coming. The result will be a decimated tourist industry. Remember, international tourists pump more than $200 billion annually into the U.S. economy. That money is counted as exports, and Las Vegas, as America's gambling and entertainment capital, gets a disproportionately large share. The numbers already look grim. Harry Reid International has seen 5 straight months of declining international arrivals, down almost 10% year over year. That may not sound catastrophic until you consider the trend. International passenger counts were finally clawing back to pre-pandemic levels in 2024, topping 3.2 million. Now, with bond requirements looming, that recovery looks like it could reverse into another freefall. The political response has been fierce. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto warned that travel bans will cause significant harm to the already hurting tourism economy in Nevada. Representative Dina Titus added that the policy tells visitors they're not welcome here, translating directly into lost jobs across the Strip's hotels, restaurants, and theaters. And remember, this comes at a moment when Vegas is banking on mega events like the Super Bowl, the World Cup, and Formula One to reignite its global spotlight. Imagine trying to lure Europeans or South Americans to spend thousands on a Vegas weekend, only to tack on a $15,000 insurance bond. It's not a vacation anymore, it's a hostage negotiation. Beyond economics, perception is everything. The Strip thrives on its reputation as a global playground where everyone, from Canadian retirees to Brazilian honeymooners, feels invited. The visa bond flips that narrative. It paints the U.S., and by extension Las Vegas, as suspicious, unwelcoming, and prohibitively expensive. And here's the twist. While the bond may only affect a few thousand applicants in the pilot phase, the symbolism will ripple across the world. Even travelers not subject to it may ask, if America doesn't trust me enough to visit without a security deposit, why should I spend my money there? The $15,000 bond isn't just a killer of trips, it's a killer of trust. And when trust erodes, so does the steady stream of visitors that Vegas depends on. But if fees and bonds weren't enough, there's another layer to this crisis: the timing. With international traffic already shrinking and competition from other global destinations rising, why choose now to pile on more costs? Why the timing couldn't be worse for Las Vegas tourism. If there were ever a moment when Las Vegas needed a lifeline, it's now. Yet instead of relief, Washington has chosen this exact moment to stack on more costs. Timing in tourism is everything, and this timing couldn't be worse. Consider the numbers. International visitation to Las Vegas was finally climbing back toward pre-pandemic highs, with 3.2 million foreign passengers passing through Harry Reid International in 2024. For a city that welcomed nearly 5 million international tourists last year, momentum mattered. But then came 2025, 5 consecutive months of declines, capped by a 10% drop in June. Passenger volume from Canadian carriers, long one of Vegas's most reliable markets, has plunged by double digits. The recovery was fragile, and the new visa rules hit like a hammer on glass. At the same time, costs for travelers are rising across the board. The I-94 fee at the border jumped from $6 to $24, while ESTA applications for visa waiver travelers leapt from $21 to $40. Add in airfare inflation, resort surcharges that can tack $50 a night onto a hotel stay, and eye-popping food and entertainment costs on the Strip. And suddenly Vegas feels less like a bargain escape and more like a luxury reserved for the few. What makes the timing even more perilous is the global calendar. Within the next few years, the U.S. is hosting the World Cup, the Olympics, and a string of mega conventions. For Las Vegas, these are golden opportunities to cement its status as the entertainment capital of the world. Yet travel industry leaders warn that visa fees and bonds could sabotage America's moment. As the U.S. Travel Association put it, raising costs now means international tourists will simply choose other destinations. That's not an idle threat. Competing destinations like Dubai and Macau are rolling out red carpets with streamlined entry systems, visa-free programs, and incentives for travelers. Europe's Schengen zone allows seamless border crossings. Even Japan, famous for its cautious immigration policies, has been easing entry for tourists to stimulate its economy. Against this backdrop, Las Vegas is sending the opposite message: pay more, risk more, or don't come at all. Senator Jackie Rosen sounded the alarm, warning that these restrictions will further harm the city's already battered industry. And she's right. The Strip doesn't operate on theory. It operates on bodies, in hotel rooms, at blackjack tables, and in sold-out arenas. Every lost visitor is not just a statistic, but a cascade of empty shifts for workers, lost tips for service staff, and shuttered small businesses off the Strip. Tourism is an industry built on momentum, perception, and timing. In 2025, all three are pointing in the wrong direction for Las Vegas. The visa fees don't just add financial barriers, they hit at the exact moment the city can least afford another setback. And if timing is bad, perception is worse. Because while officials insist this is about integrity, many potential tourists are already asking a darker question. Is America still open to the world? Or has the welcome mat been rolled up? The global message: you're not welcome here. Las Vegas was built on the promise of welcome. Neon lights, 24-hour buffets, and endless entertainment all whispered the same message. Come as you are, leave as a winner. But in 2025, that message is being drowned out by something far colder: bureaucratic signals that say, you're not wanted here. The new $250 visa fee and the looming $15,000 bond requirement aren't just numbers on government paperwork. They're symbols. To an international traveler, they say, we don't trust you. You must pay extra to prove you deserve entry. That perception cuts deep. As Representative Dina Titus of Nevada bluntly stated, the policy sends a message to international travelers that they are not welcome here. And when the message is exclusion, visitors will simply choose somewhere else. Think about the psychology of tourism. People don't just buy flights, they buy experiences, memories, and status updates they'll proudly post online. No one wants their vacation to begin with suspicion and a demand for cash collateral. Imagine telling your friends, I had to wire $10,000 to the U.S. government just to see the Bellagio fountains. That doesn't sound like the start of a dream. It sounds like a shakedown. For Las Vegas, this global message is especially dangerous. The Strip thrives on its reputation as the world's playground, open to everyone from bachelor parties in Toronto to honeymooners in Brazil. In 2024, Canadians, Brits, Mexicans, and Australians were among the largest sources of international visitors. Now, with passenger volumes from Canadian airlines already plunging double digits, the optics of new fees pile on the damage. If core markets start feeling alienated, the domino effect will ripple through the entire Vegas economy. Other countries are seizing the moment. The European Union has worked to streamline digital travel authorizations, while Gulf hubs like Dubai are advertising visa-free access for dozens of nationalities. Even rivals in Asia, Macau and Singapore, are marketing themselves as hassle-free alternatives. By contrast, the U.S. risks branding itself as the fortress where pleasure is taxed and entry is conditional. And perception spreads faster than statistics. A traveler in London might never be asked to pay a bond, but when they see headlines about $15,000 deposits just to visit Las Vegas, the impression lingers. Why gamble on being treated like a suspect, they'll think, when I can go somewhere that actually wants my business? Senator Catherine Cortez Masto put it simply: these bonds and fees will cause significant harm to the already hurting travel and tourism economy in Nevada. The harm isn't just in dollars, it's in reputation. Vegas isn't just competing with other American cities, it's competing with the world. And in a global contest for attention and dollars, image is everything. The real danger? Once a destination gets branded as unwelcoming, it's hard to shake off. Ask San Francisco. Ask Paris after waves of negative press. For Las Vegas, the stakes are even higher. It's not just about losing a few tourists. It's about losing its identity as the city where everyone belongs. But this crisis isn't only about visitors. There's another casualty lurking in the shadows. The very people who keep Las Vegas running. Its workers and residents, who now face the fallout of policies they didn't create. The fallout for workers and the Vegas economy. When international visitors stay away, the neon lights don't just dim for tourists, they go dark for workers. In Las Vegas, 1 in 4 jobs is tied directly to hospitality. That means every empty plane seat from London, Toronto, or Mexico City echoes as lost income for a bartender, a stagehand, a taxi driver, or a blackjack dealer. The new $250 visa fee and $15,000 bonds aren't just barriers at the border, they're triggers for layoffs on the Strip. The numbers reveal just how fragile things already are. International arrivals at Harry Reid International Airport were down 10% in June 2025 compared to the previous year, marking 5 consecutive months of decline. For an industry that only recently clawed back to near pre-pandemic levels, 3.2 million international passengers in 2024, that slide is ominous. Every percentage point of decline represents tens of thousands of hotel nights unbooked, restaurants left half empty, and convention halls with thinner crowds. The economic consequences are stark. Senator Jackie Rosen warned that the visa fees would further harm an industry already down 7% in the first half of 2025. Representative Dina Titus drove the point home. Fewer visitors mean fewer jobs in our hospitality industry and more Nevadans out of work. In a city where wages haven't kept pace with soaring housing costs, every lost paycheck pushes families closer to eviction notices or long commutes from cheaper desert suburbs. It's not just direct employment that suffers. The Vegas economy is a web. Taxi drivers depend on international airport traffic. Wedding chapels thrive on overseas couples. Chinatown restaurants rely on tour groups. Even local sports, like the Raiders, the Golden Knights, and the brand-new Formula One circuit, count on foreign fans willing to pay premium prices. If fewer of those fans clear the visa hurdles, the Vegas effect shrinks across the valley. There's also the psychological toll on workers. For decades, Vegas employees endured long hours and unpredictable shifts, trusting that the steady flow of global tourists would keep the city alive. Now, with fewer visitors stepping off planes, that trust feels broken. Workers are left asking, what happens when the very policies meant to protect America choke the city that represents it? And the worst part? These jobs can't be replaced easily. Unlike tech hubs that pivot to remote work, Las Vegas's economy isn't portable. The dealer can't shuffle cards over Zoom. The showgirl can't perform from home. When tourists vanish, the work simply evaporates. The fallout is more than economic. It's cultural. Las Vegas has always been a stage where workers from around the world built lives in the desert by serving the dreams of others. Now, as international arrivals dwindle, the workers who defined the city, risk being written out of its story. But while locals shoulder the brunt of this fallout, there's an even bigger question looming. If Las Vegas becomes too costly and unwelcoming, where will the world's tourists go instead? The competition gains: Macau, Dubai, and the new global gambling hubs. Las Vegas used to stand alone as the world's ultimate playground. But in 2025, it's discovering a brutal truth. When you raise the barriers too high, travelers don't stop gambling. They just gamble somewhere else. And the somewhere else is getting stronger every year. Take Macau, often called the Vegas of the East. In 2024, Macau's casino revenues reached nearly $30 billion, more than double what Las Vegas brought in. Why? Because Chinese tourists can enter visa-free from Hong Kong, and regional travelers face far fewer restrictions than they do trying to cross the Pacific into Nevada. Where Vegas slaps on a $250 visa fee and a maze of paperwork, Macau rolls out streamlined entry and direct flights from dozens of Asian hubs. To the international high roller, the choice is obvious. Why fight red tape when you can step into the world's richest gaming city with ease? Then there's Dubai, a destination that barely registered on the gambling map a decade ago. Today, it's emerging as a global rival thanks to its strategic location, luxury branding, and relentless focus on accessibility. Dubai International Airport already serves over 80 million passengers annually, many from Europe, Asia, and Africa, regions now being hit hardest by U.S. visa requirements. And while Dubai's gambling industry is still tightly controlled, the city compensates with world-class shopping, five-star hospitality, and tourism campaigns that scream, "You are welcome here." The contrast to Vegas, where the first message visitors get is, "Pay up," couldn't be starker. Other hubs are sharpening their edges too. Singapore's Marina Bay Sands has become an architectural icon and a symbol of hospitality efficiency, offering travelers a seamless experience without hidden surcharges. Monaco remains the European jewel for elite gamblers, while the Philippines is aggressively marketing its entertainment city district as a more affordable alternative to both Vegas and Macau. Each of these destinations benefits from policies designed to attract, not repel. The danger for Las Vegas isn't just losing a few whales at the baccarat tables. It's losing the middle-class tourist, the bachelor party from Toronto, the honeymoon couple from Brazil, the retirees from Germany. These are the visitors who fill the hotel rooms, buy show tickets, and fuel the Strip's ecosystem. If they find it easier and cheaper to spend their vacation in Dubai, Singapore, or even Mexico's burgeoning resort casino scene, Vegas risks becoming a city built for Americans only. That's a terrifying prospect, because without steady international inflows, Vegas leans harder on domestic visitors, who are already stretched thin by inflation, shrinking disposable income, and rising travel costs. Strip CEOs may talk about premiumization, but an economy that relies only on the ultra-wealthy is fragile at best and hollow at worst. The competition isn't waiting. As Las Vegas stumbles under the weight of new fees and bonds, rivals are accelerating, eager to capture the spotlight once reserved for the Nevada desert. And if the Strip loses its crown, the consequences go far beyond lost revenue. They touch the very identity of America's entertainment capital. But the real irony? This self-inflicted wound comes at the very moment Las Vegas was preparing to showcase itself on the world stage, with mega events like the World Cup and Formula One, which raises the next pressing question. What happens when those global spotlights arrive, and the audience is missing? Mega events without the world, the empty spotlight problem. Las Vegas has always loved a good show. But what happens when the show goes on and the audience doesn't arrive? That's the nightmare scenario looming as the city prepares to host some of the biggest global events of the decade, only to face a steep decline in international attendance. Think about what's on the horizon. The Formula One Las Vegas Grand Prix was marketed as a glittering return of Sin City to the world stage, drawing fans from Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. The upcoming World Cup matches in 2026 were billed as a once-in-a-generation tourism windfall. Layer in massive conventions like CES, with its historically strong foreign attendance, and you'd expect hotels to be packed, restaurants buzzing, and casinos overflowing with international money. But here's the catch. These events rely heavily on foreign visitors, the very travelers being priced out by America's new visa rules. With the $250 visa fee applied to every non-immigrant category and bonds of up to $15,000 targeting certain countries, many of those visitors may never even make it to the Strip. The timing could not be worse. Consider CES, one of Vegas's crown jewels. In 2019, before the pandemic, over 175,000 attendees came to the Consumer Electronics Show, with more than a third from outside the U.S. If even a fraction of those international tech leaders decide the visa hurdles aren't worth the trouble, Vegas doesn't just lose tourist dollars, it risks losing its position as the global capital of conventions. And in a city where conventions account for billions annually, the ripple effect could be devastating. The symbolism is just as damaging. Mega events are supposed to broadcast an image of inclusivity and excitement. Instead, visitors will see headlines about tourists forced to pay $15,000 deposits or facing endless interviews just to get here. That transforms what should be a global celebration into a cautionary tale. America is open for business, but only if you can afford the cover charge. Meanwhile, rival cities are watching closely. Dubai, Singapore, and Macau are eager to siphon off high-spending international audiences. Imagine an F1 fan from London debating between Vegas and Singapore. One trip requires weeks of visa paperwork and hundreds in fees. The other offers quick approval and a guaranteed welcome. The choice isn't just financial, it's emotional. Nobody wants to start their dream trip feeling like a suspect. For Las Vegas, the empty spotlight problem is existential. The city has built its brand on scale, on filling stadiums, convention halls, and Strip sidewalks with people from every corner of the world. If mega events fall flat because international tourists can't or won't come, Vegas risks looking less like the world's entertainment capital and more like a regional attraction, dependent on domestic tourists already stretched thin. And here's the cruel irony. These events were supposed to rescue the Strip, to bring back the magic after the pandemic slump. Instead, they may reveal just how fragile Vegas's global appeal has become. But beyond the numbers and empty seats lies an even deeper question. Has Las Vegas, once the symbol of global welcome, been rebranded by policy into a city that belongs only to the wealthy few? The reinvention question. Can Vegas survive its own barriers? Las Vegas has always thrived on one skill above all: reinvention. From mafia-run casinos to corporate mega-resorts, from dollar shrimp cocktails to Michelin-star dining, the city has constantly reshaped itself to survive. But the question in 2025 is stark. Can Vegas reinvent itself fast enough to survive the very barriers America is now erecting at its borders? The challenge isn't just financial. Yes, a $250 visa fee and bonds up to $15,000 are crippling for international tourists. But the deeper problem is perception. Policies tell stories. And the story right now is that America, and by extension Las Vegas, is closing its doors. That undermines decades of marketing campaigns that painted Vegas as the world's playground, a place where anyone could come and try their luck. Reinvention, then, will require more than just glitzy new attractions. The city will have to fight a battle of narratives. Can it convince travelers that the Strip still welcomes them despite federal policies saying otherwise? Can it lean harder on regional visitors, domestic conventions, and emerging markets while international arrivals slump? Some believe Vegas's future lies in diversifying beyond gaming. Sports franchises, music residencies, and even family-friendly attractions. But those industries, too, rely on global audiences to maximize profits. There's also the matter of who Vegas is really reinventing for. In recent years, executives have leaned into premiumization, a corporate term for chasing wealthier customers while phasing out affordability. Resort fees, surcharges, and sky-high ticket prices reflect that strategy. But paired with harsh visa costs, the risk is obvious. Las Vegas could become a gated playground for the wealthy elite, losing the mass appeal that once made it iconic. If the middle-class tourist no longer feels welcome, either because of fees at the border or costs on the Strip, what's left of the Vegas dream? Some argue that adversity has always fueled Las Vegas's creativity. After the 2008 recession, the city doubled down on conventions and entertainment to offset gambling losses. After COVID, it leaned on sports and mega events. Perhaps now, with international tourism under siege, Vegas will discover a new model once again. Yet reinvention has its limits. A city built on volume can't thrive on exclusivity alone. What's certain is that the stakes have never been higher. Las Vegas isn't just fighting for tourist dollars, it's fighting for its identity. Will it continue as a beacon of global fun, or shrink into a niche destination, surviving only on domestic visitors and ultra-wealthy elites? That's the gamble the city faces today. And here's the ultimate irony. The city that taught the world to roll the dice now finds itself at the mercy of policies it didn't create. Can Vegas survive its own barriers? The answer will determine not just the future of the Strip, but whether Las Vegas remains the world's capital of dreams, or fades into a relic of what it used to be. Las Vegas once promised the world, everyone is welcome. Today, new fees and bonds whisper the opposite. The question is simple. Will the city reinvent itself, or wall itself off forever? Comment below, would you still fly to Vegas? And don't forget to subscribe for more.